Hey, housewives, come on in. You know the dirty dishes are still in the sink from yesterday and the laundry is still in the basket. Pop your AirPods in and make yourself at home here.
I'm Tracy.
I'm Tori.
And we are your Unlikely Housewives. Stepping out in faith and believing that God calls the unlikely, we are here to show you the appreciation and validation you deserve, lead you to authentic relationships, and release you of believing the cultural lies to restore your faith and wellness.
Pull up those high-waisted yoga pants, tighten your top knot, and reheat your coffee for the third time. Turn up the volume, and let's go.
Hey, housewives, welcome back.
Hey, housewives.
We're so excited to have another episode and an incredible guest with us today. And he is in studio, which we love when we can have local people come visit us. And Tori, I'm going to let you introduce him.
Yes. So today we have Danny Zeck. He was born and raised in Leavenworth. He, along with his 2 sons and 3 grandchildren, attended Leavenworth Unified School District 453 schools. Mr. Zeck, who owned and operated a car dealership for nearly 30 years, served on the Leavenworth USD 453 school board for 16 years. He and his wife, Dinah, have been married for 52 years and live in Leavenworth. They have 2 grown sons, 5 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren, but he is currently serving on the Kansas State School Board. Welcome, Danny.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So I have to tell a little bit of background on how we got to meet. We met through the White Rose Charity Ball that I hosted back in October of 2023. And I met Lisa. And then she introduced me to the rest of the people at her table. And that included you and Dinah. And Dinah happens to be her sister.
Yes.
And so Dinah and Lisa, oh my goodness, they are quite the pair. I adore them. I've even had the pleasure of traveling with Lisa. Oh my gosh, I could not have had more fun with her. So when we were introduced, you know, it was through a cause that we're both passionate about, which is pro-life, Seth Gruber's White Rose Resistance. And then we got to talking and come to find out you're on the Kansas State School Board. And so we connected through a couple of things that I had worked with for the Moms of Liberty. Mm-hmm. And we've stayed in touch since then. So now you served on the Leavenworth School Board for 16 years.
Yes.
What was that like?
When you first start, so you're a local community person, and you really don't know anything about really what's going on and stuff. So you run for that stuff and get on, and you trust what's going on. And you don't run whether you're Republican, Democrat, Conservative.
Right.
And back when I first was on, we had hard left people and hard right people.
Okay.
But we could always come together and come up with what was good for kids, what we felt as the board.
What years were you? Generation, maybe a decade.
I think 2012 was the last one, so go back.
All right, so 16, so 98.
Yeah.
This is why I don't homeschool. Sorry.
I don't like to think backwards.
No, 96. No,
Yeah.
Is that right? 90.
So something like that.
Yes, okay.
And so you could trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then as we went through the years, things started to change.
Yeah.
Like my last time on the board, I'll use that. That's the best example. We approved social emotional learning in 2012.
Okay, social emotional learning.
Yeah.
Okay, SEL.
But being as old as I am,
Mm-hmm.
we trust that individual was doing the right thing for kids.
Right.
Yep.
So it was after I went and spoke to the local board after the book the next day on their website, they didn't mention my name, but they said he approved social emotional learning back in 2012. So that gave me the passion because, oh my goodness, they were lying to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now everything that they tell you, it's not even Ronald Reagan, trust and verify. No, you have to verify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the curriculum that local boards are adopting. And that's probably the most important thing, not just curriculum, but that's the local board is that important.
Yeah.
That you have to verify what the curriculum is.
Well, and that really, the breakdown of the trust, as we were kind of chatting about before, really happened around 2020 when kids started coming home and we were Zooming and we were seeing the stuff that they were bringing home and working on. We all started to see a little bit more of questioning things. And then it became something that was a little bit more viral, for lack of better words. I mean, that social media helped us see some of those things too, as parents were posting, wait, my kid's reading this in school. This is a read aloud. Like, is this really happening? So that's, I mean, from experience, you know, I feel like that is really when the trust broke down for us, was around that time.
Yeah, that's when I started to care about local politics, I'm ashamed to say.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I didn't know who was running for school board and what they, you know, that was just something I voted down the ballot. Like, okay, this is a name I recognize from the signs that I pass every single day. This is because I had no idea. And Tracy and I both have the experience of, we moved here into where our neighborhoods are because of the school district, because the school district is so well advertised and marketed, dare I say, for families moving in and for the city. And like it is, they talk about exemplary and all the excellence things that they've done and da-da-da-da-da. But it's not until you actually have kids in the system that you're like, well, you what? You're doing what? Kind of thing. So let's real quick. So talking to, if you were to give advice to somebody who is moving into a area where they're considering the school district, what are some key things that they should look for? Like, how can they know some of these things? Should they see if they can attend a school board meeting before they move into that neighborhood where their kids will be schooled? Or how should parents, what's the best way for parents to figure out?
If you're thinking about moving into a place and you have the ability, I would go and look what the curriculum is, look at all the different things they're teaching, ask about all the different surveys that they're teaching.
Okay.
Or wanting the kids to fill out. Or want you to fill out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And ask to look at, actually read them.
Okay.
Before because they are in every school, every public school.
Yeah.
So you want to know what's going on beforehand.
Right. So is that something that you would ask the individual school, or was that something that you would reach out to school boards and say, hey, I'd like to see their curriculum for the school
No,
district?
you reach out to the school district at the district office.
Okay. Awesome.
And they may, if you're asking for stuff to look at, they may make you pay for the copies and that type of that. That's one of the things that we see now, and they can charge whatever they want.
Oh, so kind of having some red tape to go through, dare I say. Yes.
And everything that I tell you are things that parents have told me.
Yes.
Right.
Because I'm so old, but I've been to there's 45 school districts that are in my district. So I've been to 25 of them.
Okay.
And I've been through 81 buildings.
Wow.
So I'm better, as you can tell, in person, because I can tell more. And so there is, on the other side, let's get the positive too. There's a lot of good things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most teachers want to do the right thing.
Yes.
Right.
But the federal mandates, the federal money coming into the schools causes things to be different. And there is a lot of really good teachers, but then the activist teachers and administrators are running the schools and local board.
And they're louder.
And yes.
The strings attached coming from the federal level into the local level.
Yes. But then the activists for all the other things. It's a well orchestrated, and it's been orchestrated probably 40 years.
Yeah.
Even when my kids were in, it was very subtle.
They've been in it for the long game. I mean, they have been in it for the long game. And that is something that people with traditional conservative values, we've been content. You know, like, oh, you know, we're just comfortable. We don't look, the Pledge of Allegiance is said every day. Well, not anymore. Like, you know, those are just some things that have just slowly eroded after year. And it's like, oh, well, that's just one thing. Oh, it's just one thing. Well, then all those things add up. Okay, so in 2012, you you left the Leavenworth School Board. Now, how long of a break before you ran for, tell me how you got...
Yeah.
What made you run for state school board in 2023?
Okay. I was reading a book, We Shall Not Be Silenced, and there's one chapter on schools. So since I had been on the board, I thought, well, I better go see what's going on. And I did, and it was pretty special. So, I'm trying to be nice. So after the board meeting, a parent came up and said, would you mind reading a book that is being read out loud in sophomore English class? And I said, not at all. It's True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. And what is sad about that book, the story is really good because it's about an Indian that went from the reservation to a local school from the reservation. So, but the author put all this sexual stuff in there, which shouldn't be read out loud within a boy and girl class.
Yes.
No.
So after that meeting, after I read the book and I went and spoke in front of the board, after that meeting, Mrs. French, who passed away, called me and said, Danny, there's an opening on the state board. And I said, I'm going to run. And that's how I got started.
Okay. But the other key part is you said, I'm going to run. But who had you not spoken to first?
The boss and the family, my wife. And now it's 54 years.
Oh, there, 54 years.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. That is a milestone.
I'm a blessed husband.
Yes, you are. Okay. So, but what was that conversation like when you said, hey, honey, just got off the phone with Ms. French and I'm going to run for the state school board?
It was funny because she didn't argue about that.
Oh.
It was like, wow.
Yeah. God had already told her.
Yes.
Okay, Danny's going to come home with an idea and you just need to say yes. Like, I think those characters in the Bible, and I say characters and it sounds like it's fictional, but like Noah's wife, can we talk about the faith that Noah's wife had? And like, what was that conversation between Noah and his wife? All right, babe. All right. So I got a vision from God and I'm going to spend the next 120 years building a very, very large boat. And our whole family is going to get on it. And there's going to be water that falls from the sky. That wife has to be like, are you sure that's what he said? Like, are you sure? I mean, but it doesn't have that conversation in the Bible. So she's definitely one of the people I want to talk to when I get up to heaven. But I mean, but like that is what a helpmate, a spouse, I mean, is
Come alongside. And, you know, it's not always a conference call. And God had that conversation with you, but she knew like, hey, if God is calling you to do it, she trusted in your spiritual
leadership enough, like that this wasn't just something that you were like, I'm going to do. Like you had a piece about it. So therefore it gave her a piece about it, which.
And that is in society today, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody, we don't pay attention to the little things that God's telling us.
Yeah.
Because it's there.
Yep.
But we have to pay attention.
Yeah.
Yep, which means we have to cut out some distractions and be still and be quiet way more often than we think.
Yes. But like I think about all the things that lined up to you going to the local school board. You read a book, We Will Not Be Silenced, which I highly recommend for our listeners. And then you're like, okay, well, I was on the board, you know, like I'm just going to go spend a couple hours this week or this evening and go to a board meeting. And then a woman had to have the courage to come up to you and say, will you read this book? And then, I mean, like so many things in place. It was, I mean, affirmed throughout, like God just is like, step, step, step. And then, I mean, and then Dinah just going, okay, all right. And I mean, those are the things that we forget, that when God has called us, he's prepared us. He's made everything possible up to that point.
And what was really fun when I decided to run and signed up, and then I put 10,000 miles on my truck going to all the districts.
Yeah.
And that was the greatest thing ever, just getting to meet people. And excuse me, but women are like dogs. They know if you're telling the truth. So I don't mean that in a negative way.
Not at all. You know what? Next time Andrew calls me a female dog, I'm going to be like, you're right. That's absolutely right.
And so I'd go speak someplace. And everybody, the ladies would come up to me, say, hey, can you come to speak to this? And so I'd go to all these different places and speak.
Yeah.
And what's sad today is the women have more gumption than the men.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
it's sad because if we don't speak up, now we don't need to be mean. We're supposed to be nice and all that stuff.
Yep.
But speak the truth, and you can't worry about what's going to happen because you know you're going to be persecuted. But people are scared to death to lose their job, and I totally get it. I totally get it. But boy, when you see stuff that's not right, you have to speak out. And I believe the good will come of it.
yes. Well, God uses all things for the good of those who love him. That's I think that's my favorite scripture, just because he will use all things. So on that, because our audience is I would say a majority of Christian mamas in their 30s, 40s. You know, we've got some grandparents in here that listen. But like, how can our mamas and women encourage their men to stand up and stand out? Because Dinah didn't force you to go to a school board meeting. I mean, like, she didn't say that. It wasn't Dinah's idea. No. And it probably, would you have listened to, like, hey, if she had nudged you in that direction, it wouldn't have been the same.
We've been married too long.
It has to be your idea. I know what that's like.
And we've been through so many ups and downs.
Yeah.
And she really cares about kids.
Yeah.
And grandkids and great-grandkids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have 5 great-grandkids, so that's real important to her.
Yeah.
And because with her, when mommy ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Yep. Yeah.
That's an old saying, but that is factual.
Yes.
And it's generationally something that's being affected.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, what we're dealing with today is going to be something that is, how we handle it, let's put it that way, is going to be what changes our grandkids, our great-grandkids' future.
Yeah.
If parents, male and female, don't pay attention, we can only do so much.
There's
and
consequences.
more people have to. The more people that find out the truth and start speaking out that, this isn't something we need to be teaching in our local school.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, this is a prime example. Tori, it's so funny because Tori's kids are in private school. Mine were in public. And 4 years ago, when all the mumbo jumbo started happening in the public schools, she's like, you need to go to a rally with me. I'm like, a what? For what? And what are we doing? And she's in Christian, private school, and she's out here fighting for us public school parents. And she brought so many of us out with her, and she opened our eyes to it that, this isn't everybody's fight. And she says this all the time. Her kids are out there playing, in the streets with kids that are in public schools, and moving on when our kids get older and they're, getting married, whether you're in private school or public school, it's like the foundation of how you're being raised is what our kids are going to face when they're looking for their partner. Like, we need to be fighting for our kids, not just in the books they read, but in where the system's headed.
So even today, this is how you have to pay attention to the private schools. Mm-hmm. Because if they're worried about accreditation, they're going to get with the State Board of Ed. And if they want to be accredited, they have to teach certain things in their school.
Okay.
Because they're going to get federal money.
Okay. So what kind of accreditation is that? What's the title of that?
Accreditation for their school. So when the kids graduate from their private school, they have a piece of paper that said they graduated from high school.
Right. Okay. Go ahead. You can say, Danny, you cannot offend us or our listeners. And
I'm not so sure that matters. And since I'm a private enterpriser my whole life, if the product, now the private schools need to take no money, no public money, except from donors. And don't worry about being accredited with the state. But the product they put out, and I'm not that's my way I use language, the product that they put out, if those kids want to go to school, post-secondary, I hate that word, but if they want to go there to college, they can take an entrance exam and probably will pass it 10 times better.
Then
I can't prove that.
Yes.
But
the likelihood.
But if your product you're putting out, then you don't have to worry about donations to your private school. And
yes.
Because free enterprise, which they're trying to take away, that's the way our country was founded.
Yes.
So since I've been in the car business for so long, so you can go any place in the world, especially today with the social media stuff, and buy a car and have it delivered to your house.
Yes.
So your product, the way you treat people, what you do for kids, you don't have to worry about being accredited. I get calls. This is awesome, so cool that I get calls all the time. I had a mom that's been homeschooling her kids for 10 years. Mm-hmm. Well, they're going to graduate, and she wanted to know the graduation requirements. And I said, well, you can go online and look what the graduation requirements is. And if you want your child to do that, that's fine. But if you don't, and if they want to go to college and stuff, maybe you look at what is required, and maybe you teach them that, and maybe you don't. And then maybe you take ACT or SAT. They're not as important today. Mm-hmm. But if they want to go to a certain college, go take an entrance exam. Mm-hmm. And don't worry about getting that piece of paper. If the college says you need that piece of paper, then have them get the GED, and they'll probably, we have a lady on the state board that is GED, and she's one of the smartest people on the board.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. Because these are the things that you don't know what you don't know. I mean, before kids, I grew up in public school, and I had a phenomenal education in the Plano School District in Texas. obviously it's a lot different now. But like at that time, the stereotype of homeschool kids, I mean, okay. So there was literally a family that had like 5 or 6 kids that just ran around like rugrats down the street from our family from our house. And they counted, and I'm not kidding, like they were 2nd and 3rd graders, like 1E, 2E, 3E, 4E, 5E. And then when you see homeschoolers like that, you're like, yeah, no, I'm good in public. I'm good, But homeschool has changed so much. School options have changed so much. I mean, last season we had Mila Little on here, who's got a kid in public school, and then she's got some in co-ops, and then she's homeschooling some. And then, I mean, parents don't realize the public school is not the only option anymore. It's not just public versus private anymore. There's so much flexibility to make it work for you and your family and your values. And so we've been sold the lie that we need to get a high school degree and then we need to go to college. And I highly recommend everyone read Charlie Kirk's book, College is a Scam, because some of the smartest people I know did not go to college. And I've told my girls, and my husband and I have been saving for college, since they were babies. And I'm like, hey, if you don't want to go to college, or if you don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer, I'm okay if you don't go to college. Like, we'll give you a down payment to start a business, to invest in something, but you don't have to go to college. Your mommy and daddy will give you real world experience. I take them to networking events, and they're 9 and 10. It's just, there's so many other avenues kids can go through now, and parents forget that or don't know that.
Well, let me finish the story about the homeschooling.
Yes, please do. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. You can interrupt me anytime. So I said, well, what's your daughter going to do? And she said, well, she works at the local EMS, and she has a passion for that, and she wants to go to school for that when she gets out. I said, great. And they like what she does so well that if she decides to do EMS, the medical side of it, they're going to give her a scholarship, the local EMS group, give her a scholarship to go to get her CTE or whatever she gives for that. So that impressed me right there.
Yeah. Well, there's so many places like that if you start here, we will pay to educate you further, for a license or a degree or whatever, and then they're trying to create loyalty, in people who work for them. And heck, I think that's the bonus for families of getting their kids into the workforce and trying different things, beforehand. I wanted to ask you, because you were talking about accredited, non-accredited, different types of schools. My youngest daughter is in a private school. It's Montessori style and very conservative values. Absolutely love it. I do know that we are non-accredited. It's something that, it's the choice that the school has made, and our head of the school is a part of trying to pass the bill of your money follows your kid. How has that been presented to you guys? What's your opinion on that? What is your perspective?
You mean vouchers and that type of thing? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
I'm against school choice.
School choice,
we've always had school choice. If you're in the public schools, and this has been forever, and you want to send your kid out of district someplace else, you go apply there, and they can say yes or no.
Okay.
But now they've been pushing vouchers, which is taxpayer money.
No, go ahead. Come on.
So now we're going to send that person, let's say they want to come to Olathe from Leavenworth. So now we're bringing the voucher. The school gets whatever the number is, but the taxpayers now of the Olathe School District are paying for that out-of-district kid that has no skin in the game.
Okay.
So parents can't say anything really because they're not paying property tax in Johnson County. They're paying it
In Leavenworth.
In Leavenworth.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm going to big picture it now.
Okay. Yep.
They want to, because there's a lot of school districts that do pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to infuse lower producing kids into the other schools.
Well, wasn't that already passed? Because our Blue Valley School District, Shawnee Mission, Olathe, we do have kids who are bused to our schools. That is happening.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was passed.
You can be absolutely honest, Danny.
I know. The big picture is, okay, I maybe have to back up a little bit. And this is my personal belief.
Absolutely.
With everything that I've learned
Yes.
since I've been doing this. So now we have just passed baby standards from birth to pre-K. I didn't vote for it. So now I just had twins. Mm-hmm. And that school now has the baby to pre-K
Standards.
but they have the school. They've built an early learning center.
Okay.
So I'm going to take my babies in and drop them off, and I'm going to go back home and let the schools tell them how they're supposed to be. Now, they want to bring in all the private schools, the whole school, because when they start talking about, the key word here is the whole child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That should scare you to death. Mm-hmm. And then they always talk about safe and secure, so they're locking down the schools. And it actually is hard for a parent to get into a lot of schools now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sorry,
you're good. This is why we have these conversations, because there are parents that do not know this. Either their kids are in the high school, about to get out, and then they check out. Like, they're still paying property taxes that go to the school boards, but they're like, I'm done. I did mine. And it's like, no, your work's not done. Like, these are still things that you need to know. This is your local community. This is your local responsibility. I mean, whether or not you have kids in the system.
Socialism is about getting everybody to think the same way.
Yes, it is.
And so that's my belief what's happened in public schools, not just in Kansas, nationwide.
Agreed.
And I would say when you see what they're doing, and the light bulb comes on. And so that's why parents have to really pay attention. And I could go on and on and on, but unless you read those two articles, and then you'll probably have a podcast on those two articles.
Okay, we'll have a side note.
And Michelle got me those.
Okay.
Okay. Her and I are on the same page.
For our audience that doesn't know Michelle, who's
Michelle Dombrowski, and she's your representative on the State Board of Ed.
Okay.
And she is awesome.
Okay.
Yes, your area is blessed to have her.
What district is Blue Valley, Johnson County?
In District 2.
We're District...
No, District 1.
Okay.
But you share it. It's a convoluted mess.
Okay.
There's District 4 and parts of it, and parts of Johnson County District 2, which is part of one. It's to me, it's a mess, but y'all are lucky to have her.
Well, awesome. Well, so how does, because I'm sure, you've seen Letter to the American Church from Eric Metaxas, the documentary?
No.
Okay, well, Lisa hasn't been sharing things with you.
Yes, no, she shares it. No, Lisa shares everything with me.
Yeah, so it's like you haven't filtered through what you've seen and what you haven't.
Yes.
No, but they talk about how socialism and communism starts, like Mother Russia started with the country saying they're our kids, and how Mao incentivized children to turn in their parents. And it's starting at, very young ages, and it's getting them into the system at the young age. And then, then you've got, that's how the socialism and communism is just a balloon, that how it continues to fill up, and it's a funnel. So because Missouri passed the money following the kid, correct?
I don't know. I don't pay that much attention.
That's fair. That's fair. So if we're
gonna have school choice, we need to have a bigger conversation about it.
Okay.
Because it's nuts. There's all kind of stuff.
Okay.
There, I said that word again.
You're fine. You can say whatever you want.
And so the conversation, instead of pushing vouchers, pushing that, we need to have a much bigger conversation.
Okay, so for those parents that want to get involved, what's the bigger conversation that we need to have? Or be asking our legislators, like, we need you to look, this is, because the lawmakers, if you do not know this, the lawmakers will put bills together and laws together and have 1,000 different, it'll be 1,000 pages, and not every representative or senator reads it, and you have to go through it and look at the fine print. For example, the bill, I believe it was a bill that was for the quote unquote border wall that included $60 million to Ukraine. Okay. There was did you know that? And then it basically said at the end that if there was money left over in that fund, then that would go to the border wall. So when people are talking about this on mainstream media, or you're seeing the headlines of these laws and like the so-and-so's voted this down or this didn't pass or whatever, instead of getting upset or having an opinion about it, go and read the bill yourself, because you don't know what other things that they were trying to tie in. And a lot of times they tie in things to create it bipartisan, right? To like, we're trying to do things like, and they turned it down. So in what is the bigger picture that our families and our mamas need to know when they're talking to the representatives, or if they're, as they're looking at electing new state school boards about this? Because on paper, it sounds good. Your money follows your kid, that for private school families, like, sure, I would love that for my tuition to help pay for it, because I'm not, Blue Valley has plenty of money. But on the flip side too, I also come from a state where Texas, it was Leave No Child Behind. And we had the Robin Hood Act, where lots of school districts that had excess money is that they spread the funds to other school districts that didn't have the money. And then all of a sudden our program started to suffer, and we didn't have enough copy paper and those kinds of things.
I would say, because everything's so entrenched, I would say the best way for parents to be involved is to focus on the local boards and get the right people on the boards.
Okay.
That ask a lot of questions. Everything should be big time. And then you get your local boards pushing back against your state representative. I mean, remember, this is a process.
Right, right. It's in increments.
Yes. And if that is not going to happen, I don't see, you can go complain to your representative all you want, and they're trying to get elected.
Uh-huh.
And then you go look at donations and those type of things. And I don't mean it bad, but we've got away from being servants to the public.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because that's what sorry, I get emotional. Because that's what we are.
Yeah.
And And I'll go back to when I was running for the board. So it's amazing. So I'm out at K-State, and one of the representatives was pushing me, so I was there for a fundraiser. And a guy came up and gave me his card, and he said, once you get elected, let's get together and we'll see what we can do. And I threw his card on the ground and said, I don't ever want any of your money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't even elected yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I know, this is a non-paying job. You get it per diem, and that's really what we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I mean, we've really turned it into a, political battle and a money here, money there situation versus for the kids, for the future, and I love to see your heart. We need more of that, and we fought real hard for our last local election with our school board candidates and had them all on here. And it really, it's challenging, we had them here and such great conversation. We prayed together. And it's just, we know their hearts were so there. They were sacrificing so much, each of their families and each of the candidates to serve. Their families were sacrificing for them to serve. And just what they put on the line to serve the rest of us, was just incredible. And then, to walk through, God obviously has a plan for everything. And, it was hard to watch them not all get elected because you knew if they were in those seats, it would be servant-minded.
I guess I'll go back. The reason I say if we start pushing the representatives, because we have to go back, because they pushed, now this has been going on, both parents working, not paying attention. You're going to have kids not paying.
Yep.
So how are we going to change that? I'm not saying both parents shouldn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
But how are we going to get parents focused on your kid? It's important that your kid develops to be a critical thinker, can get face-to-face with people.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel bad when somebody argues with them, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's such a different world than when I was growing up, and with the phones and the screen time in the schools, all those. I'm not saying they're bad, because that is part of life.
Yeah.
And so when they want to take away even cell phones out of the schools, I struggle with that, because there is some good with that.
Yes.
And again, I don't trust it anymore. So what are they going to teach them on the computer? That's there. Because that's a whole, now there's so much, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry if I'm getting off, but there's so much.
Yeah.
It's like all the data, or you'd word salad all the time, but all the data that they collect.
It is.
I wonder what they're asking about you.
Right. Well.
And so they say that they're going to hold that, but remember, the federal government has so much money involved in the Kansas schools that if the federal government wants the money, wants the information about you, they're going to get it.
Right.
And don't think that isn't happen, because it does. And so you really have to decide that you want to fill out anything. I'm scared to death of that part of it too.
Yeah.
And then your kids will bring the Chromebooks or whatever they have home. So is that paying attention to what's going on in your home? See, I'm a weirdo.
No, you're not.
Because
do you see how big my tinfoil hat is right now? Like, I have got no, but that is a perfect. Okay, so we were just talking about this because this is something that the schools have implemented this year, and we were talking about Tracy's kiddos that the schools have removed the cell phones.
Well, they have a cell phone policy now, which they never had before.
That's good.
It is good. And that's what I was going to say, because what happened after COVID was just so, they just loosened up on every rule, every restraint, everything, that it made it to where, I mean, I'd have a kiddo whose battery would be dead by 11 because he watched the Royals game. I mean, I'm being very real here.
Yes.
Which it's also, you know, they walk around with the AirPods in their ears. I mean, they're not communicating. They're not talking. Socially, it's becoming more of a who's on their phone snapping each other. I mean, the last few years have been really difficult to parent in the public school, and having boundaries on our own kids, but knowing that we don't have any control when they're there. I mean, my kids are great kids. They do honor, you know, our Stein values. However, when they're sitting there and everybody else is on their phone, they're going to do the same thing. So the cell phone policy has been great. And when we went to the high school back to school night, the principal, he even said, he goes, I'm just going to say we're 2 weeks into this and I haven't received one email from any of you complaining that this is a problem. So thank you. And he said the kids' chins are up. They're looking. The teachers are happier. The classrooms are more social. I'm like, yes. Okay, now we're talking. So it is something they can use them in the hallways, you know, in between passing periods, you know, for high school and things that way. So they still have them. They're still able to communicate, but it's not their primary, you know, touch point, which is needed, especially for the middle schoolers, because they're at that vulnerable age where they need, I mean, there's just so much development that needs to happen in those middle school years. And if the device is in the hand, they're not seeing the kid that's right in front of them. And there's relationships that need to be built. And, you know, I'm thankful that we're working on it this year. I still see the kinks and experience them, but hopefully it's something that will improve.
Yeah, and that's good because we don't want to take it completely away.
Right.
In my opinion.
Right.
But, okay, now the next question you have to ask is what are they doing on the screen time with the computers in the school? What are they teaching? What's going on with that?
Yeah.
What questions are they asking your kid that's now in the school system data?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, you got...
Yep.
Remember, you got to keep going.
Right. And well, and then too, to play devil's advocate is that if, like, how many videos have we seen that's on social media that went viral because a kid was videoing a teacher talking about whatever that teacher's personal opinions are, things that, you know, that do not need to be discussed in the classroom. And then that's a parent conversation.
Yeah.
But they've got their flags in the back and whatever, you know, but having a kid with a cell phone on it, granted, that's like 1 out of 100 kids that's actually going to record something that their teacher is saying, and that, you know, when that blows up. But I mean, so like that, to me, that's devil advocate. Again, you know, it's, you win a little bit, you lose a little bit too. So it
is that, because I get pictures all the time.
Oh, really?
There's more conservative students out there than you think.
Yeah.
Which is good.
And
it's good.
It being just old common guy. And this is from all over my district.
Yeah.
Janitors from schools take pictures of flags and what the teacher has in their closet and send me pictures. That's the activist teacher now.
Yes.
Remember
yes, they're good teachers, but then there are teachers that are activists. Yeah, absolutely.
And I see that's one of those things. I get the pictures and I can't say who it was or anything because they'll get fired.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that when I spoke out at the school board, I think that was one of the things that I was telling you, like once it went out, then the teachers knew who could come to me, who thought and believed the same thing that I did, but couldn't within the school, you know, or it's, you got to have that, you know, safe place because those people do need to have an outlet, you know, that are in the school systems that don't want to lose their jobs.
And the problem for the teachers today is they have all these mandated things that really aren't academically good.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to teach all these other things. And that others, you'd be surprised at how many teachers don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Teach those things.
Well, and again, it's like you said, the security and the understanding, like you don't want to speak out because you don't want to lose your job. And while there has been the last couple of years since, I would say, COVID, a big surge of mama bears, because we're the ones that are, typically ones that are home with the kids or dropping them and like are volunteering at the school, things like that. And that's great. And that there are mama bears there, but we need the men too. And we need the men fathers to speak up and speak out, to run for school board, to do these things, because we do. I mean, you'd vote 7 women into a school board and holy cow, I can just imagine that would be a middle school. I guess no. No, I don't want, again, the masculinity needs to be there, and men come at things differently than
less emotionally.
Yes, less emotionally. I heard a commentator say, if you want to fix the country, don't let white women moms vote for 4 years. And that's my demographic. Like, that's who I am. And I actually go, yeah, because it is. It's our demographic who is having sympathy and empathy for these things, like the gender affirming care. And like, no, where are you getting your views from? You're getting a headline from Twitter. You're getting a headline, X. But I mean, it's like, I absolutely agree with that statement. If you took out that demographic from voting, like, I think for 4 years, I think we would be much better off. And I can say that because I am a white woman and mother. So it's not
one at that.
And
well, thank you.
Just so you know, it's sex. You're either male or female.
Yes.
There's no gender. But let me tell you, since how smart you have to watch. So one school district I'm in, and this is a bond issue that was taxpayers are paying for. So they're very smart. Mm-hmm. So in the grade school, they remodel the new bathrooms. It's good. There's a boy and girl, and where you wash your hands in the middle, and then area of glass where you can see in what's going on. So dumb Danny looks at stupid stuff. So I said, I want to go in to the boys' bathroom. Mm-hmm. There's no urinal. Okay, that's a grade school. So they're desensitizing the boys. Mm-hmm. I go to the high school and visit, and they've remodeled there, and they have the bathroom where anybody can go in.
Yep.
So there's no urinals in those either.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's how smart they are.
Yeah.
And that's how smart they are.
Yeah.
And you think it's no big deal. Like, it doesn't, and the Kansas City airport is. Yeah. That's the same thing. And I understand the safety issue. The walls are all the way, like the doors, and it's fine. But it's
still like, I mean, we traveled with our kids this summer, and I literally had to have a conversation with each of my kids. I'm like, when you go into the stall, you kick the door open and make it slam against the wall, so you make sure no one's not in there behind the wall. Like, yes, really, like, we have to have these conversations, because now there could be a boy in there that just was like, oh, girls coming in here, I'm gonna hang out, and it's terrible that it's the fear that they're developing, the desensitizing that they're doing. It's like, and now that it's in the schools where you're sending your kids, it's such a mind-blowing.
So now I'll go back to the computers.
Yeah.
So we had a presentation from a Stanford professor. He was really, really good about AI.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So I'm one of those old school where I have to print everything off. So I printed his presentation off.
As a printer, I appreciate that.
And I go to the back, and there's a disclaimer that said this article was actually written by a real person. So that right there should let people know that you got to really pay attention. And then I asked him on his presentation, I said, are you a real person?
Yeah. Yeah. Is this not just a...
And he was.
Yeah.
And he was very good because he was saying you got to make sure you pay attention about AI.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And we've talked, I mean, both when we went to back to school nights, it's very, I mean, the teachers and the principal, they're like, we're very on guard about it. Not happening, not being used, not encouraged, you know. But did you know that there is a math AI that you can take a picture of the math problem and it shows you how to do it and gives you the answer?
No. Had no idea. I mean, it was bad enough when our kids were asking, hey, Alexa, how do you spell occasionally?
Oh, she's going to do that right now.
No.
Oh, just kidding.
She's unplugged. I've told many times, I've slowly gotten those out of my house because my mom says that because way back when you don't think about those things, you're just like, oh, this is great. I can ask her the weather. I can have her play some music. I can do whatever, you know, you don't. And she goes, no, I don't need a witness when I happen to kill your father. And I was like, fair.
Oh, then that doesn't fall far from the tree.
And that doesn't fall far from the tree. I'm like, oh my gosh, because I'm going to be on some governmental list. Like without a doubt.
100% you are.
Yes, I am.
I will be by association.
Yes. They will know you should show up every Tuesday and Thursday. But yeah, that's something that I'm like fully aware of now. Like just recently, I chose to deactivate my Facebook and my Instagram. And I did not just stop posting. I deactivated it because that removes all of the content that I have put out there since I started Facebook in 2005. And because that can and will be used against you in business and in life. Just so you know, Danny is nodding his head vigorously. So, but like these are things too, like having to teach kids that, hey, your employer's probably going to Google you.
Mm-hmm. You've got a footprint out there.
Yeah.
You're posting it and sharing it.
Yeah. I mean, that's insane.
Yes. It's real insane. Let me go to a local board now.
Okay.
I'm sorry, now I'm getting, these are just all the stuff that is in my head. So they just, Leavenworth School Board just passed where you can wear jammy bottoms to school.
Well, why'd you have to have it passed? Our school does that.
So, so what is that teaching kids? That it's okay to go, you don't think that you have to go any place to do anything anymore.
Dress professionally or dress or.
And I really, really, really struggle with that as a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not teaching kids any responsibility.
Yeah.
Everything, you notice how much kids don't pay for now.
Oh, yeah.
So we're just draining things down.
Mm-hmm.
Where in their heads suddenly, it's free. It's free. I don't have to pay for it. I don't have to pay for it. Which is basically saying the government's going to take care of me. The government's going to take care of me. The government's going to take care of me. Yeah. They're so smart. Sorry, I got off track there about those jammy bottoms. Okay, so what happens today, everybody thinks they can go online to get a job. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have to dress nice. But I always tell kids, okay, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that have put that application in. You dress decent, or whatever you think decent is, and you go face to face. You go to the personnel director and see if you can interview face to face, which is unusual today. And you may not get it, but somebody probably will write something down that person or kid actually came in here to see me.
Yes. Yes.
So those are things we don't think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In today's world, everybody points the finger instead of taking the blame.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because I always say this, in business, if we lose a customer or somebody doesn't like us, we got to look right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that was a dumb customer. They shouldn't even been in here. We didn't want it. And
Yeah.
it's what did we do wrong that person didn't want to do business with us?
Yeah.
And so we have to
Now
bring that back into the schools. And the schools need to not be afraid to be upfront. In other words, if your kid uses his cell phone, this is what's going to happen. Just so you know up front, this is what's going to happen.
consequences.
Yes. And we don't, you find out about the consequences afterwards.
Right.
And so I'm one of those ones you be more open about things. And we don't, being a business guy, we don't listen to really what the teachers, you know which ones are activists and what, you got to listen to all of them, but we don't listen to what's going on. I don't think. It's more top down,
Yeah.
which I don't like, because in business, you got to listen to the people that are doing the work.
Right.
And it may not be anything you can do, but you got to listen to them.
Yeah.
And once you get that culture built, everything changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not to say that you're going to implement what they're doing, but it has a two-way conversation
Right.
that is good. And we don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
So that, I know that's probably off track of what we're doing, but nobody's held accountable for anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now I
true.
struggle. Really struggle, because that's,
So you are State Board of Education. If someone were to come to you and ask you what you are most passionate about, what is your topic that you're there because this is what you want to change?
I'm going to try to always do what I was voted in for. And I was voted in to do and what is best for kids. And so what my philosophy will probably be a lot different than younger people, which is okay. When they present stuff to us, I'm always looking how that's going to affect kids, from babies to kids graduate from high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the common sense thing comes in, and it gets in your way, because it's like, wow, this can't be good for kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, in part of society today, because we have two parents that work, our job is bigger.
Yep.
No.
And it's hard because they will do, because they are in the majority, and nothing against the people, but they will keep things getting put on the agenda that the public can go back and look at, because they're scared to death that their way of life might change. And so, and that happens at the local level also. Because you always want to get as much of that stuff in the public eye as possible.
Yeah.
Instead of, Danny said this, no, you can go back and look at that presentation when they're talking about mental health, about screen time, about the cell phones. What does it cause? You know, ADD, all the different things that actually can be caused by what's going on.
Yeah.
And so we need those presentations. If we can get those in the public, are very important for parents to be able to see, hear.
Yeah.
You know, every school district is different. Everyone is different. And so when we put all these constraints on local boards from the state level and from also the representative level, then that causes a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And so let each local area do what's best for their kids locally.
Yeah.
But it's on the voters to get the right people, vet the people, make sure who they are, because a lot of times, a lot of people, you'll vote for somebody, and I'm sure this happens to everybody in this room, that you thought was this way. And then when they started voting,
You're like, right, you're voting against everything that I wanted.
Yes.
Or you said that you were going to do.
yes. Mm-hmm. I've been through that. And so, that's a struggle.
Yeah.
But here's something really good. In Sabetha, LifeWise Academy, which is a Christian group, what's interesting about maybe a smaller school district, so they worked it out with the local administration and everything. They bought a house across the street from the grade school and worked it out on Tuesday and Thursdays. It's volunteer. Parents have to volunteer. Those kids can go across the street from pre-K to 5th grade, I think, in that building, and do Bible study for 45 minutes.
That's awesome.
But that's nothing's funded by the school.
No.
They work the planning time or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't understand all the little parts of it, but it's bigger than ever now.
Yeah.
They start out with 40, and I think they're up over 100 kids now.
That's cool.
But it takes people to do that. It takes
Yes.
people to ask the question. It takes people, instead of like, what can I do? I'm just one person. Start the conversation or tell what you know to somebody else. It is, like you said, it's bringing it to the public eye. It's going to stand up in front of the school board, or it's taking a friend to the school board meeting with you and saying, hey, did you know? Or have you seen that these books are available in our schools? And it's just having a conversation, not coming at it from in a mean way, but it's just like, what do you think? Do you think this should be allowed in an elementary school?
Yeah.
And because otherwise their agenda's just going to keep chipping. And like you said, they're
Desensitizing.
But it's just bit by bit. And you don't realize the importance of urinals in the men's bathroom.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
mean,
I know that sounds crazy, but it's one of those. That's how smart they are. I'm giving them a lot of credit, but that's how smart they are.
yeah.
As a mom, like when your kids are little, if you don't know, if you're not aware, obviously, of what's going on in the world and all the changes that are happening and the purpose of it, if your kids are little and you're like, oh, well, my little boy gets better privacy, that's great. Like, nobody's thinking of the,
In the high school, so those doors do lock. So if you got somebody like me that was, when I was in high school, I'm going to go in there with my girlfriend and shut the door.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't take that wrong, but
No,
But that's it. Like, and especially like,
well, and considering that they both can go in that area.
yes. How is that? Like the Kansas City airport, you can do that. But I mean,
sorry.
No, but that's it. Like they don't see the big picture. They just think that, oh, well, it's a convenient. Our whole family can go into the bathroom and we each go into our own stalls. They don't think of the predators or the other things that can happen when you do that. There is a reason we had gender-specific bathrooms. There's
sex-specific.
Thank you. Okay,
I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
But you got to understand, the other side is best at word salad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and they've stolen the definitions of so many words.
Yeah.
Like it's when somebody says, well, my girlfriend's transitioning, and you're like, finish that sentence. And they're like, oh, transitioning jobs. And you're like, okay, yes. You're just curious if that was going to go the other way.
So just show you how smart, and just like that's why we call it the baby standards, because they call it early childhood. No, it's baby standards. See, that changes your whole mindset.
Okay.
When the school's telling you that these are early childhood standards.
Yeah.
So from when they're born to pre-K, it's baby standards. I changed that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Lisa said, Danny, isn't that baby standards? I said, absolutely, Lisa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which now you start thinking of, as a mother, do I want them teaching my baby that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of early childhood, also on data. So now they're back to data. So all of a sudden on the state board, they were starting using the artifacts. instead of using data, because I'm into the data they're collecting. I don't want them collected.
Yeah.
And so every time I said something, when they start using data, I say, isn't that artifacts? Isn't that artifacts? And then before, when they were using artifacts, I said, isn't that data? Isn't that data? So now they just say data.
Okay. Yeah.
So you have to watch the word salad.
Yeah.
At local level also.
Yeah. Yeah.
At local level also.
No.
There's so many little weird things.
Yes.
Sorry, I know I'm going all over the
you're
place.
not.
Well, we are
so
too, and I
sorry.
was just going to ask you this too. I saw this article yesterday, and I had sent it around. It was an article that was written about Kansas school districts fighting a chronic condition, chronic absenteeism. Have you seen the article or heard about it, or is that something that you guys have discussed?
We always talk about chronic absenteeism.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, at our level, it was brought up at our back to school night just about the number of days. I think the average kid is missing about 18 days a year or something like that. It's crazy. And then they started doing the math, and multiplying by how many kids are at the school and how many days are being missed. And like, you're talking about, a lot.
It's parental.
Not having responsibility and having kids be accountable.
And they'll talk about free transportation for their kids.
Yeah.
We can't get them there because we were sick that day, and
Yeah.
so we need more free transportation.
Yeah.
Or the school just isn't putting out the proper stuff, and the kids bored to death.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there were truancy laws. Does Kansas have truancy laws? Texas had truancy laws.
Yeah, they do in Kansas too.
Okay, yeah, that you miss so many days. Like the parents are can be are not convicted, but
Which is quite funny because I'm pretty sure we got that notification back in the day when my son had to stay quarantined. And he missed like 20-some days of school because of their rules.
yes. Oh my gosh, I remember
we got
that.
an email. We did get an email about that.
That was
I was like, well, then
yes,
let
because
my kid come back.
like this. Then yes, because of the exposure, and when they stopped. Oh my gosh, yes, those were wow.
So I hate talking about, I'm going someplace else, about the pandemic, because it really wasn't. What it was about was controlling the kids
Yes.
and putting it in their head that the government's going to do what's best for you.
Yeah. No, it was a great.
And I always say, just think you got a pre-kindergarten kid that had to wear a mask to school for 2 years in a row, and then all of a sudden he doesn't. But that's already his head. Well, if they tell me to wear a mask, I better wear a mask.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're doing it early.
Yes.
I know I'm a sick individual. I keep
You're
saying
not.
that.
You are not.
When you start big picture and everything, because we tend to not do that.
Right.
We're focused right here.
Right. And our whole, our little circle family, and we've got our kids involved in so many sports and so many activities that it's all we can do to get our kids from school, fed, sport activity, to a good night's sleep, then do it again the next day, that it, practices every Monday through Friday. Games are all day. The tournament is all day Saturday. So where is the time for the two working parents to be reading, to be going to the school board meetings, to be looking and seeing what they're doing, to be sitting in on the teacher's class to see what they're teaching? Like they have created us to be. So we're at a point in life where we have to be so intentional and say, no, my priorities are
Amen.
My values are and then what am I teaching my kids? I mean, I think about that all the time. I'm very bold, outspoken. When I got off of social media, and I could have stayed on social media and just posted, hey, who's got a recipe for the crock pot this week? Or what's for dinner? and I told my girls, they're like, so you're not on Facebook anymore? And I was like, no, because I couldn't be a hypocrite. And for me, I couldn't be on the platform and not say my bold, my convictions, like all those, encourage others to do it and not be doing it myself because of that.
That's exact. I would say the hypocrite part in very different is why I went off months ago, is because I started reading Anxious Generation. It's a great book, and it is, I need to teach my kids better healthy habits around a phone. Now, yes, I use it for my calendar, my grocery list, my reminders, it was my business platforms too, but all my kids saw was me on my phone, and that had to change. And it has been such a amazing step away. And because again, can't be a hypocrite. We have to model for our kids what they need.
Amen.
And yes. And it just became such a, I really struggled. I mean, I tried to go off social media 3 different times. I've tried to like do different things, and I was so convicted, and I battled, and I'm like, if I can't do this, how can I expect my children to learn any healthy habits around their device?
Yeah.
And they're not going to unless I can figure it out and I can walk them through the struggles and be there with them.
I'm just thinking of the lesson of being bored. I mean,
oh yeah,
I'm an only child, and so that blows my kids' minds. They're like, "What do you mean, Grandma and Grandpa didn't play with you or like entertain you?" Or I'm like, "No. If I wanted a friend to come over, then I had to call the friend had to ask their parent, they had to get like there was all these things that had to happen, and I had to check it with my mom. But then also too, it was like there were days that no, you can't. Figure out something else to do.
Yeah.
That doesn't include a screen. I mean, people, and I'm guilty of it, I numb out when I'm waiting in a grocery store in line. I pick up my phone and start like, okay, what else? Just scrolling for no reason whatsoever. I can stand there and be bored for 5-10 minutes while I wait.
So yes, and along that line, so I'm at a board meeting, local board meeting, and they were going into executive session. And since I'm on this task force about screen time and stuff, I just sat there and I didn't pull my phone out or anything, and nobody was talking to each other. And it used to be when executive session, people talk, but even the administrative people were on their computer. Most of the people in the audience were on their phone. Nobody was talking to each other.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is not even, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
And it is part of our life. And on the other side, it's a good part.
Yes.
Yep.
It's a good thing, but.
Yes.
Right.
Now let me go back to the library thing. My
Too
thought
much
came
of
back
a
to
good thing to be a bad thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and that's the part you have to look at. You got to verify.
Yes.
Yes.
So, for instance, okay, there is activist librarians in schools, but you have to look at the National Library. I'll just use American Library Association.
Okay.
So they send all these books, and do the local librarians really have time to really go through them?
Right.
I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
So this is how you have to do. So you have to look at you drill down on the American Library Association and look at who their boss is and what their philosophy is. And then all of a sudden, the light bulb comes on that these books are probably in your school.
Yes.
So that, and I'm sticking up for the librarians, but there is some activist librarians.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there is, but most of them are good, and they don't look, they take that they're going to do the right thing for the kids and stuff, but you have to look at everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yep.
Well,
And it's sad, but you have to.
well, I'll finish on this. So one of the resources that I was part of creating was the Sex in the School Library, and it gives excerpts of a lot of the most popular books that are in school libraries and lets you see actually what they're talking about, you know, how many times it says the word shit, how many times it, you know, what it references, or if it's a graphic novel, what the pictures look like and things. But in the beginning of that resource that we created, we did it for the local level. So all the schools in Johnson County. Now, how we got that is you can, most schools, you can go on to your school's individual website. You can go on to academics, you go to library, and you can search their library catalog. And you can actually see what books are in your school library. As a parent, also, I highly recommend go into your school library and know, because honestly, it's not that many. Like, you can look for certain authors. There's quite a few. And then there's some pretty big ones that you should be looking for. And you'll know fairly quickly if those are in there and then what that looks like. But that doesn't take anything except for a 10-minute Google search to go to your school's library. Because I did it for a pastor in Wyandotte County. Because he went to a school board meeting and he said, Tori, okay, I've got this resource, but these are Johnson counties. He goes, can you help me verify that these are in some Wyandotte counties or Wyandotte School District, USD 500? And I said, yes. So I wrote down all the names of the school, and then I went through and found some of them were locked and password protected, but 90% of them were not. And I could look individually, and I searched and I said, yep, here they are. They're in this middle school, elementary school, And he's like, great, thank you. So that, I mean, it takes 10 minutes, but it's something that you can do at home. I mean, there are lots of things like that parents can do.
So I had a mother, had a mother go through school, and so I went on Amazon, bought all the books, because I can't get on there because I don't have kids in the school or grandkids or anything. So I bought all the books, and like if I'll go someplace and speak, and I'll take the books, and that's one of the things I talk about. So I'll pass them out.
Yeah.
So in one place I was speaking, there was a teacher that quit teaching, but had kids in the school and was going to homeschool them. So as the books, it was perfect, because as the books came to me, came to her, she went on the school's website. They have this one in this elementary. They have this one in this elementary. They have this one. So and by them touching and looking at the books, oh my goodness.
It makes a difference.
Yes.
It really does.
It really does.
Yep.
So all that to say, housewives, there are things that you can do. There's so much out there. We just want you to be aware of it. This episode was to educate you.
It's a conversation. If you can't tell, like, this is what we've enjoyed with Danny, is being able to talk about what he's seen in local, what he's seen at state, and absolutely is potentially what's going on in your world. And if you're not plugged in and if you're not engaging, trust me, 4 years ago, we were moms who just floated along, doing our businesses, having fun in our social worlds, and not plugging into these conversations until now. So we're just encouraging you to do the same with your schools, public, private, wherever you are.
Yeah.
And stay engaged with what your children are seeing and hearing.
Yes. And Danny, thank you so much for your time. I so appreciate it. And
thank you. I hope I've been helpful.
Oh, absolutely. At least for us.
Yeah. No doubt you have.
Yes. All right. Until next time, housewives.
Have a great week.
Peace out.
Bye.
Whether we made you laugh or cry today, we pray you feel appreciated, bolder and braver than yesterday, stronger and more faithful for tomorrow, and living in who you were made to be today.
Join our online community on Facebook, link in the show notes, and be sure to review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you enjoy listening. Until next time, housewives, we give you permission to walk confidently, free, and to be intentional in your slippers or stilettos.